republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First item is approving the minutes of the meeting from July 12, 2020.
Move to approve the minutes of the Village Board of Trustees meeting of July 12, 2022.
Second. Roll call vote. Oh, wait, any changes? Nope. Now roll call vote.
Trustee Postuma.
Aye.
Trustee Harlow.
Aye.
Trustee Stifler.
Aye.
Trustee Fisher.
Aye.
Trustee Burns.
Aye.
Trustee Banky.
Aye.
Thank you.
Takes us to President's report. The village's contractor is going to begin the final phase of the Garfield Street reconstruction project this Friday, August 19th. Beginning on Friday, Garfield Street is scheduled to be milled from Hinsdale Avenue to First Street and all the cross streets transitions that intersect with Garfield all the way down to 55th Street. The contractor is scheduled to proceed with pavement patching on the cross street locations on Saturday. Each activity location will require temporary street closures utilizing barricades and flaggers. The final paving of these locations, which will be up and down Garfield, is scheduled for the week of August 22. All access and egress from the parking deck will be maintained, and those exiting the parking deck will travel south on Garfield Street. The village has contacted the middle school personnel to facilitate the return to school given this reconstruction project. Residents should expect traffic delays on Garfield until the project is completed later in August. Detour signs will be posted. The work hours will be from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. For those living on Garfield Street, please maintain your usual garbage and recycling pickup routines. Mail service and parcel delivery service will not be affected for this phase of the construction. The other item I'd like to just discuss with the trustees is Allison gave you each, I think you have it, an update on our year-to-date revenues. I asked that this be done because I was a little concerned with just coming out of the pandemic and having what is disputedly a recession, how that was affecting our revenues. So we did it year-to-date through July, and as you can see, it's a happy number. If you look at the schedule, it shows the amounts below or above budget, and the greens are year-to-date that are above budget, and the reds are below budget. And you'll see the reds are smaller amounts for parking fees, which is not unexpected given what we've done with the parking meters, and for electricity. But you'll see that some of the numbers are fairly large, and our positive variance to budget year-to-date is, and again, I have to get my readers out, 2.2 million. But the one thing that's kind of interesting, and these numbers obviously are subject to change as the year goes on, and some of the numbers lag. For instance, the sales tax numbers are as of May. So to the extent that we've had a slowing in the economy, we haven't really picked up numbers since May. But one of the things you'll notice, for instance, with respect to the non-home rule sales tax, that we are $438,000 positive to budget. But you also see that the actual year-to-date is 1.5 million, and our annual budget, which is the first column on the left, is only 1.7 million. So we're pretty close to what we expect for the whole year already on that. Similarly, with respect to the state income tax, we're actually ahead for the entire year. We've collected $2 million in state income tax, whereas for the entire year we projected 1.9 million. So these numbers, at least with respect to the sales tax and income tax, look positive. So this is something I was concerned about, is how we were tracking for revenue. So at least for seven months, it looks like we're in good shape. Next meeting, we're going to talk about expenses and where we track vis-a-vis the budget for expenses at the next meeting. And I don't think there's going to be any surprises there. And the other issue that we're going to talk about in the near future is about parking fines, how we handle, for instance, the commuter lot. I think as many of you probably know, the commuter lot back before the pandemic was completely full. We had people paid 6-month fee to park there. I park there every day, and sometimes there's, on Fridays, for instance, there's probably only 15 cars in the lot, which probably holds, 300. So we're going to try to figure out a way to best utilize that lot, which may be that we have an app where you pay by the day, because I don't think people who work downtown 2 or 3 days a week want to buy a 6-month pass. So we're going to figure out something, and hopefully we can present that, if not at the September meeting, maybe the second September meeting. But that's the plan. It's, the details are yet to be worked out, but we're going to figure out something. And that should drive up the parking fines or parking fee numbers, or because that's lagging, as I said, because we've taken out the parking meters or put bags over the parking meters. So I don't know. You guys probably haven't a long of opportunity to read this. The exercise was for no specific purpose other than just to get a snapshot of where we are in revenues, and I think we're in pretty good shape. Okay? All right. So that takes us to citizens' petition. Any citizen wishing to appear before the board on any matter, now's your time.
Hello.
Yep.
My name is Jun Guobian. I live in 811 North Oak Street. I'm here today to ask the board to intervene to solve the problem between the resident, the landscaping problem between resident and Land Rover dealer. As I show in this photo, you can see there's supposed to be hydrangea at the south end of the entrance, but because of both lack of maintenance and also out of snow in the winter at this entrance, most of the plants actually died. There's also another dead tree there. And according to the agreement, there's supposed to be a meeting between the resident, village, and the dealer to look at the landscaping last August. That meeting did not happen. And we report the problem last October to the village and the Land Rover dealer, and we expect them to replant those dead plants and trees at the beginning of this growing season. However, until now, the planting is still not completely. It's still not completed. We have been in constant contact with the village and the dealer, and it's not until the end of July they planted 4 hydrangea. No, they only replanted 3 hydrangea at the south end of the entrance, and there's supposed to be 8 plants for better screening. And there's also another dead hornbeam tree they did not plant until a few days ago. So basically, so until now, there's still 4 hydrangeas still remain to be planted. And another problem is all these plants died because of lack of maintenance. And basically, they don't do a good maintenance of the landscaping. And I want the board to intervene so that we can solve this problem. So that the resident doesn't need to be contact the village next year or contact the board next year for those dead plants. That's one. And the other things, I want them to replant those plants as soon as possible, because now it's already the middle of August. The growing season of this year will pass maybe in 1.5 months. So if they don't plant now, then this year will pass. So that's the issue we are facing with the Land Rover.
So as I understand, the hornbeam plants, whatever those are, were planted recently, yesterday. So, and the other plants are ordered and will be planted soon?
Correct.
Yeah. So are these plants require you to water them? I mean, is there, I would hope that they would put plants that don't require watering, something that can just grow in the summertime. So,
I don't know what the specific watering requirements are. There's some hydrangea and daylilies that I don't know if they just didn't make it or they weren't watered. I
And you
don't
probably
know.
didn't get established.
Yeah.
to
Well,
stop.
I mean,
Hydrangeas actually, think about the word, hydro
Yeah.
is at the root of the word. They
an
require a
expert.
lot of water.
okay.
So given what the dealership seems to be interested in doing in terms of maintenance, maybe that's not the best
Yeah, I
plant
mean,
selection. I don't know.
yeah.
I can't speak to that, but they do require water.
Yeah.
Hornbeams are trees.
Okay.
That's a very common, they do fairly well. But any new tree is going to require water when it's
Right.
planted.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah,
It's
so-
mainly, at the beginning, they need to water the new plant, but
Right.
I don't see them, they actually.
Right. But really, it's not the village's job to make sure people water their plants. I mean, that's.
It's
so-
the dealer's job, right?
Right, it is the
Correct.
dealer's job. So, but it seems to me that I mean, any new plant, you gotta water. So and the problem is, I mean, it's Land Rover's problem too, because if these plants die, you'll be back here and we'll make them get new plants. So at some point, they gotta start maintaining the plants so they don't have to keep spending money on new plants. But it seems to me that the hornbeam plants, or that they would be what would be the screening, right? Because they're actually trees. The rest of them are kind of ornamental. But what we can do is we'll keep on them, and we'll ask them to water and make sure that they get established. If they don't do that and they die, we will yet have them plant new plants. I think that's the best we can do. But we just hope that they live up to their responsibility. But as I understand, all the plants you've asked for have been ordered, and some were installed yesterday.
Yeah, the plant a hornbeam tree, a
Right.
few days ago.
Right.
It's, so that's just one side of the problem. The other side is they need to maintain, and also in the winter, they should not pile the snow at the entrance, so that they pile the snow in those plants. Of course, these plants will die.
Right.
And then every year, if it died every year, then what should the resident do? Every year we.
Well, at some point, I think they will get established, but maybe we can tell them not to put snow on the plants. We can do that. I mean, we're happy to communicate your desire with them and talk to them about doing what they agreed that they do, but, it's, at some point, they have to maintain their own landscaping, or else they're just gonna have to continually replace it.
Yeah, that's their responsibility according to the landscaping plan approved by the village, and that is
Right.
ordinance they should observe. And if they don't observe the ordinance, then they should get a penalty or something. Otherwise, they will just continue doing things like this.
Right.
And then what can the resident do?
Yeah. So is there any way to, if they don't, is it true that Land Rover's not been in compliance with the landscape plan that they agreed to?
No, they were in compliance with the landscape plan.
But
The
the-
stuff
the-
wasn't maintained, and some of it ended up
Okay,
dying.
But-
so now they're replanting stuff and they're bringing it back into compliance.
Correct.
So,
Sorry.
It's in their best interest to water the
well, that's
plants,
what
so
I
they
would
don't have to keep
think.
buying
Yeah,
them,
rather
right?
than
I
buying
mean,
new plants every year, you'd think
Right.
you'd water them, or you'd think you wouldn't put snow on them so they die. But I agree with Neil that once they become established, I think they don't require any maintenance. So maybe we could get our arborists to just go out there and give them some tips on how to keep their plants alive.
Or they'll just tell their landscaper to water them once a week.
Yeah. I mean, do they have somebody come and cut their grass? Maybe they could get somebody to get a bucket out there and throw some water on it. I mean, it doesn't seem like an insolvable problem. So, but you're right. It's in their best interest not to replant these plants every year. So we'll do it. We'll talk to them. I understand your concern. So it sounds like they were in compliance. They're now out of compliance. We'll try to bring them back into compliance, and hopefully the problem will be over.
Yeah, in compliance also means they need to maintain the plants, not
That's right.
let them die every year.
Yeah, we understand.
And I can understand the frustration, because if they continually do this on an annual basis, they just never get the growth that
Exactly,
they expect.
exactly,
So
yeah.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
And we have been dealing with this problem for many years. It's
Yeah.
back to several years, not just last year.
Yeah.
Right.
This is really our only remedy, though, is to tell them to replace them.
Yeah, I know, that's all we can do. I mean, maybe at some point we can give them a ticket or something, I don't know. But let's just see how this one works, and then hopefully you won't have to come back.
Hope so.
Yeah, and I know that when I got new plants, I had to go out every night and put a long stake in with water, and do it in the ball of the root. I mean, there's something they can do. I mean, they should, they must have they have a landscaper over, Land Rover? Because they have some landscaping, right? I mean, cutting
I
grass.
don't know, I got to expect that they have somebody maintain their.
Yeah, Yeah.
their lot.
Throw the guy $15 to water the plants. I mean, you know, this seems like it'd be fixed.
Or the guys who move the cars.
The guy that moves the
You know,
cars, yeah,
like,
when you're not moving a
When you're
car,
not moving
here's
a
a
car,
water
go
bucket.
water
Go
the
to it, buddy.
hydrangeas.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, so we'll work on it. I understand. We've got the message.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks. All right. First reads. Matt?
Yes.
Oh, wait, is there anybody else? I'm sorry. Anybody else have anything to say? No, okay.
Yeah, so item 6A, this is a first read, an ordinance amending the village code regarding water rates. As we've discussed in the past, the board's general philosophy is that the users of water should pay for the cost of providing the water. And in last fall, we revised the rate structure, and in part, we implemented a $15 fixed fee per 2-month billing cycle to try to decrease some of the variability in revenue due to varying water usage from year to year. A large component of our water expenses is our purchase of water from the DuPage Water Commission, and then the DuPage Water Commission has bought that water from the city of Chicago, so there's a couple of different layers in there. And since last fall, the DuPage Water Commission has increased the rate by 4.2%. The last time that they had increased the rate was in 2019. And so it's proposed in this new ordinance that we increase the rates charged by the village to users by that same amount, 4.2%, across the board. And the various numbers that you see here in the RVA and the draft ordinance are all reflecting that 4.2% increase. In addition, we're proposing that the largest user of water in the village, who uses over 2 million cubic feet annually, would also pay a higher rate. Their rate would go from $13 per 100 cubic feet to $15. And this is in light of the fact that they do not pay property taxes as most of the other residents do. And then in addition, the $15 fixed fee, obviously for them, is a much, much smaller proportion of the total water bill compared to most residents. So the thought is that by having a larger increase in their regular water rate, that will make up for that difference in the effect of the $15 fixed fee that we implemented last fall.
Okay.
Any questions or comments from folks?
Nope.
In the audience?
Is that consent agenda item?
Yep.
Okay. Neil?
Okay, item 6B is a first read for $45,700 of design engineering services for 2 drainage improvement projects. ARPA awarded the village 2 drainage grants in the amount of about $235,000, which can be used to fund 50% of the improvement costs, and then the village picks up the rest. One of the 2 projects is at Grant and Fifth, where we've had ponding problems historically. I've heard about them for forever, it seems like. To remedy this, we'll be installing a new storm sewer line running to 6th Street, which will provide additional drainage capacity and should resolve the problem. The other project is at Charleston Road, which also has had street and yard flooding problems for years. And there again, the water has nowhere to go fast enough that we're going to be replacing the existing culvert with a 36-inch pipe which will run under County Line Road. So, as I said, this is for the design engineering services. Next year, we'll be proceeding with the actual construction, and we'll be seeking approval for construction and construction observation.
So how does a grant work? Do we get that money up front? Do we get it at the end? Do we get dollar for dollar, or how does that work?
It would be a reimbursable, so we would pay and then the county picks up 50% of the construction.
Got it. Up to 230.
250, yep.
235,000, okay. So when we have the number here for 45,700 for costs for design, we would pay that, and at some point after the whole project is done, we would submit a request to the county?
All the engineering is the local agency, so the county's only picking up the construction.
The actual
I got it.
construction
Okay,
cost.
got it.
Any
Okay.
design fees and
Okay.
construction observation fees are beared by the local agency.
Okay, understood.
Okay, consent agenda?
Yep. Okay, then we have you.
Yep. Which moves us to agenda item 6C, and this is an ordinance for an exterior appearance and site plan for the facade and other improvements to an existing building at 14 West First Street. The property is located in the B2 Central Business District with all contiguous properties also in the B2 Central Business District. The property is a two-story, 4,000 square foot building. The first floor will be utilized as a salon, which is a permitted use on the first floor. And the second floor will be utilized as a medical office, which is also a permitted use on the second floor. The improvements will include, in quick summary, a replacement of all the windows and doors and the installation of an elevator shaft, rooftop mechanical screening, and finally a dumpster enclosure. I'd like to note that there was some discussion at the Plan Commission with regards to the elevator shaft. So as you walk in the building, the elevator is going to be immediately to your left. The elevator shaft is going to exceed the top of the building by 1 foot 8 inches, which is permitted by our code. There was some discussion at the Plan Commission if they could move that elevator shaft further back into the building, but it wasn't, did not fit in with the applicant's use of the property, because I'd like to have customers come in and immediately be able to access the elevator to go to the second floor. I would note on that, though, that at 1 feet 8 inches, that's not considered as part of the height of the total building, so it is code compliant.
Can you see it from the street?
You'll be able to see it from the street.
Is that-
I could see some
shown
people
up?
not liking that.
Yeah, it's about 18 inches, so,
Is that shown on one of the renderings?
yeah, it is in the, let's go, do it right now. So if you go to the big pages. This is the color photos. Yeah, we got pictures before and after. And from this angle, you can't see it, but I think if you were further back, you would be able to see it. So
Okay.
I'm looking at this right here, this photograph.
Yeah, you can't see it from.
You can't see it from, because we're at a northwest angle, but I think if you were to go to a northeast angle and further back, you'd be able to see. It's gonna be 18 inches above that,
Yeah. Okay.
so.
You can see it.
Is that right? 'Cause
Two
I-
pages before here on this little tiny one, you can kind of see how it comes up there.
That's just the enclosure for the mechanicals.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Because I was just looking at the minutes from the Plan Commission meeting, and Chairman Cashman said that he didn't think the shaft would be visible from the street. Was that?
I don't know, I mean,
Well,
if you get far enough back, you're gonna see.
Yeah, but how far can you get back? It's in
Yeah.
the middle of a block.
Yeah, I
Well,
don't
and there's
know.
an alley there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
but
an
you have,
alley.
so the
you
people in
see
the
it on
alley
the
can
alley.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a
From the
big
street
deal.
along the alley.
I personally don't think it's material because it's in the corner of the building.
Yeah.
But it's, I thought it was worth bringing to the board's
Yeah,
attention.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and as I said, it is permitted by our code, but we do have the, final approval of whether or
Right.
not that's permitted from an aesthetic standpoint.
Right.
Well, this is like a Zook building, isn't it?
Pardon?
I think this is a Zook design building.
It's similar to and there are other Zook design buildings in the historic downtown. And if I go further then, I would just say that, this building is classified as a contributing structure in our downtown area, as noted by the Hinsdale Historic District. So that's one consideration for it. And this is a first read tonight, so it's a reasonable request to have the applicant illustrate what it would look like from the sidewalk
Right.
directly across from the street.
Yeah. But to that, the Historic Preservation Commission recommended approval, 5-0.
They did.
So,
Okay, well.
They did.
Cool.
Yeah. So, okay, moving back to other improvements that are gonna be made. There's going to be new shutters and signage on the front facade and light fixtures as detailed in the drawings. And then signage, the photos do illustrate signage, but those are only illustrations. Any final signage is going to have to be approved by Plan Commission. Also, as I mentioned, it's a contributing structure in the downtown. There was a fair amount of discussion at the HPC about the elevator shaft, or at HPC and PC about the elevator shaft, but both HPC and Plan Commission approved it unanimously. I would note that HPC did have the recommendation, and the Plan Commission concurred, that in order to continue with the historic nature of the buildings, that they wanted the trim on the second floor windows and exteriors to be painted white as opposed to black, and the applicant has changed those, has made those changes in this application. So with that, I know the applicant is here this evening. If you want to give us a quick, I think a quick rundown of anything that I may have missed on the building, and then also what your operations there will be.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Michael DeWolf. This is Kelly DeWolf. So yeah, as we noted, it's going to be a medical office on the second floor, and then more skincare on the first floor. I've been part of Hinsdale Hospital for the past 8 years, so happy to be part of the community, more involved. In terms of the changes that we're making, certainly we did kind of go back to the original design, which is white on the second floor windows. The elevator is going to be actually on the west side, and it, by our understanding, is not going to be visible from the street level. Okay. That was our understanding going forward.
And was that discussed at HPC?
It was, yeah.
Okay.
It was, extensively. Yeah, but that's pretty much it.
Can you elaborate on the first floor operations? Do you expect to have retail sales
Yeah,
there?
big retail sales. We have another office in the city, and we do a lot of skincare products there. We have about 6 or 7 skincare lines, and we do a lot of retail business on the first floor. The other services would be more spa-like services on the first floor.
Okay.
Everything medically related, injectable related, laser related will be on the second floor.
Got it.
So if I'm thinking of that building accurately, there's the main entrance, which was Warline Studios and Tigers and Tulips
Right.
and other various things more
Right.
recently. But then on the right-hand side of the building, as you're facing it, there's the entrance that goes upstairs.
Right.
How is all of that traffic pattern going to work, and how does that work with the elevator being on the west side, which would be the side that the upstairs entrance is on?
So yeah, our elevator, so the entrance to the medical office will be that secondary entrance. The main entrance, as you stated, will be for the spa services. So hopefully the flow will be medical patients, post-surgical patients have to walk through the space to get to the elevator, will enter into that door and immediately be able to go up to the elevator.
Okay, so the elevator won't be right on the side of the building, but it'll be a little, like, offset from the center, so to speak?
Exactly.
Which
Yeah.
is why you wouldn't see that from the street quite as easily.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's making sense.
Thank you.
And, just for trustees, on one of the drawings here, I'm not sure what page it is, but it shows I guess what would be the west elevation looking east. You could see the elevator shaft goes up in the parapet wall, which it does look like you would have to be
Further than across the street.
further than
Yeah, like
across the street to
Oak
be
Brook or
able to see
something.
that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other questions or thoughts? Good. So this is, the way that the process works is we have 2 reads on this. This is the first read tonight. We don't vote on it. We just discuss, see if there's any comments from residents. Having gone through HPC and Plan Commission with no residents' input, I doubt we're going to get any. The vote will be in September at the first Tuesday of September at our board meeting. It's not necessary for you to show up to that unless you hear from staff.
Thank you. Okay,
Trustee
accounts payable?
Stifler, I'm sorry, it'd be the second meeting in September. We need to get the findings
Oh, my
approved
mistake.
first.
Okay, so expectations, we're going to vote on it the 3rd Tuesday of September. Thanks,
September
Rob.
20th.
Okay, accounts payable? Who had those?
I have the accounts payable. It was a big one. I found everything to be in order, given that we're doing the meetings once a month, so it was fairly large. I actually had no questions for Allison whatsoever. There was only one void check for a whole month, so everything seemed decent.
Okay, you want to make a motion?
Yep, so with that, I'll approve payment of the accounts payable for the period of July 7, 2022 through August 10, 2022 in the aggregate amount of $3,017,542.05 as set forth on the list provided by the village treasurer, of which a permanent copy is on file with the village clerk.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Trustee Postuma?
Aye.
Trustee Harlow?
Aye.
Trustee Stifler?
Aye.
Trustee Fisher?
Aye.
Trustee Burns?
Aye.
Trustee Banky?
Aye. Can I have a motion with respect to consent agenda items 7B through E?
Move to approve consent agenda items 7B through 7E. Second.
Roll call vote?
Trustee Postuma?
Aye.
Trustee Harlow?
Aye.
Trustee Stifler?
Aye.
Trustee Fisher?
Aye.
Trustee Burns?
Aye.
Trustee Banky?
Aye.
Back to you, Matt.
All right, this is item 8A, second read, ordinance transferring appropriations within departments of the village. Discussed this at the last meeting, but basically now that the 2021 audit is wrapping up, we are required by state law to amend the original appropriations ordinance to transfer funds where the expenses in one line item exceeded the approved amount for that item. And so that's done by transferring amounts from other line items where there was a surplus. As discussed before, kind of the two larger items were for litigation and for the sales tax rebates paid to Land Rover. But there was no any one fund of the village that exceeded its total 2021 appropriation. Any questions? In that case, I would move to approve an ordinance authorizing transfers of appropriations within departments and agencies of the village.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Trustee Postuma?
Aye.
Trustee Harlow?
Aye.
Trustee Stifler?
Aye.
Trustee Fisher?
Aye.
Trustee Burns?
Aye.
Trustee Banky?
Aye.
Okay, Luke?
Yep, which moves us to agenda item 8B. This board has seen this matter many times. Tonight is a second read and for an approval for a map amendment, a text amendment, plan development concept plan, and special use permit to allow for 12 age-restricted lifestyle housing units with an existing building located at 125 South Vine Street and a major adjustment to Zion Lutheran Church PUD. The application is being submitted by Holiday Properties, and also Zion Lutheran Church is commonly referred to as Case A35-2021. At our first reading last month, there was the applicant did provide a very detailed plan, and there was a decent discussion on the proposed project. From a very high-level overview, the applicant is simply looking to utilize the existing building with no additional increase to the footprint or square footage of the building, and with no increase to the current non-conforming aspects of the property. The primary points at our meeting in July were, number one, the width of the parking spaces and the drive aisle in the garage. The applicant had requested for the 8-foot wide parking spaces and for a 20-foot drive aisle. Trustees indicated it would like spaces to be code compliant at 9 feet wide and the drive aisles to be 24 feet as required by code. The applicant noted it may be able to meet these requirements, but all the parties acknowledged that this would be addressed in our detailed plan. So it's going to be the next part of the process. Number two, the applicant agreed it would follow the board's request to be age restricted. 3, short-term rentals will be restricted to 6 months. Second Street will remain a one-way street, and if desired by the neighborhood, will be addressed separately after this project is over, if it's approved. And then 5, the non-conforming angled parking spaces on Second Street will be removed with a landscape parkway installed. And then lastly, there was a particular discussion with regards to the 3 open space areas, but I'm going to come back to that at the conclusion of my arguments. I think it's from a process standpoint, it's important to note here what we're going to be voting on this evening. One, we're going to have a map amendment changing 125 South Vine Street from the IB to the O1 district, which I would note is a more restrictive zoning district, and it's also consistent with the zoning to the north of this property. On a text amendment to allow lifestyle housing as a special use permit in the O1 district. Approval of an ordinance approving a planned development concept plan and a special use permit to allow for lifestyle housing and a PD in the O1 district. And lastly, a major adjustment to Zion Lutheran's current PD, which will allow it to sell the land and which will allow it to sell the land and the building for the Vine Street Station concept. So that last part is just that we've got to make a change to the Zion PD because it's going to be removing a portion of the property. That's simple. The process, which also I believe is important here, if approved, if the concept plan is approved tonight, it goes back to Plan Commission for a detailed plan. That's where all the specifics will be detailed out here. That's where the applicant is going to spend more money on engineering. The applicant's going to spend more money on water studies and things of that nature. Once the Plan Commission hears that, and closes that, it will make a recommendation to us, and it will come back to us for a final vote. I would say that, this board here and also the Plan Commission has done a fairly decent job of kind of tidying everything up, and I think sending the message to the applicant of what we're looking for. I do not expect the detailed plan to be contentious or a very long process whatsoever, but I believe it's important for the trustees to understand the process here. And then lastly, the last point, which was of a fair amount of discussion at the last meeting, was with regards to the parks. If you recall, we had a park on the west side of the property, which was going to be dedicated to the village and maintained by the applicant. Then, in the central part of the property on 2nd Street, the applicant wanted to make that into a common outdoor family room area with a TV and a fire area.
Exclusively for use by residents.
Exclusively for use by the residents.
Right.
And then the third, which I want to discuss again this evening because I think it's unclear, at least it was unclear to me, was the largest of the 3 open space areas, which I recall, and I didn't have the opportunity to go back and look at the video, but I recall that was going to be an open space that would be dedicated to the village, but would not be advertised as an open space for everybody, and it would be maintained by the applicant. And I just want to have a conversation with the applicant here tonight to make sure that we're all on the same page before we refer.
I don't remember the dedicated to the village part, right? Because I thought we were just going to kind of play it loose. So that it would be, because if you dedicate to the village, then it's a public park, right? So I thought the thought was you would leave it as open space and residents could walk their dogs or go there. And then if it became a problem, we would come back and determine whether it was just used exclusively by you or whether it was just left that way, or.
That's how I recall that.
So-
And it was a little unclear.
Yeah.
I think it was deliberately opaque because we wanted to give discretion to the Plan Commission and to us as the applicant to identify a really thoughtful use of that space. I don't believe the intention was to actually have that be dedicated.
Yeah.
But I do believe that the intention was to have it be quasi-public, where it wouldn't be restricted necessarily to the residents. However, I think the point was brought up that at some point in the future, the HOA may decide to change the use of that lot or that portion of the lot, and so as to not put restrictions on that at this time. That's how I recalled it.
Right. But I thought the thought was that it was okay to keep it open as long as there wasn't intensive use. If you start having rugby matches there or something, you may decide that that's not the appropriate use.
Right.
I mean, I thought, and I don't know if this would work, they just kind of keep it as open space without naming it as a park and just let people use it if they want to and not formalize it.
You're remembering well, because and actually after the meeting, so this wouldn't be in minutes or anything, but we did spend some time with Pastor Klein, and I think that he really embraced the idea that this could be a place for meditation for people at the church.
Right.
And I think we would welcome that. It does feel like It's consistent with the entire development approach here. So, we're calling it a French sitting garden. We're trying to find an architect that understands our vision for this space. We're viewing it as there would be some sort of arch or welcoming into the space itself, but it wouldn't say for private use only or anything like that.
But if later on the HOA decides they want to do something with it, can we make it so that they come back to the board and talk to us about it, so that it's not just there?
I believe
That would actually be required.
Would it be required?
We could put it as, and I want to make sure, we're going to come back to this entirely first, but we could make it as part of the PD that there would be no restrictive signs permitted to be posted.
Right, unless there's a
if
further
they want to change
conversation.
that,
Right,
then they would
right.
have to.
And I would add that there will be a review of the covenant and the condominium declarations of the HOA, and that, I believe, is going to be reviewed in conjunction with the entire detailed plan.
Great.
So that would be an opportunity for us collectively to introduce things into that documentation that would create the need, for example, to come back if they were to change that. And I think Trustee Stifler's idea of having a restriction that's in this that says it couldn't have restrictive signage on the outside could be a really easy way to.
Yep, okay.
I just want to make sure, is everybody on the same page here?
Well, I was just, so like, it's not dedicated to the village, but so how does that work? It's, I don't know, is there a public easement? I mean.
Well, no, I think they would maintain it, right? They really should be.
Right, but like if someone, goes to Starbucks and gets a coffee and then decides to stop in the garden on the way back home, are they trespassing?
No,
Legally?
no. I mean, I think that it would be,
A permitted guest.
it'd be permitted, it would be so that it's open to the public, but it wouldn't be designated a park, it wouldn't be dedicated to the village.
Right, normally if you have something that's private property, a person can't, go and camp out on your front yard, right?
Yeah, I think this is important.
It's
but we
maybe a
had-
technical question,
It's
but-
a very technical, and we had the discussion, we referred to the facility right to our
Right,
west here.
the bench there.
Yeah,
where
the
people-
bench where
they're
people
not
constantly sit
residents who
there.
are sitting there.
Yeah,
right.
and it's not dedicated to the village, where
Right.
people constantly, but it's not abused either.
Right.
What Matt's referring to, I think, is a very technical, and, it's,
Yeah.
This is a different space that is, I think, more easily occupied than the one over there, which has a slope, and the bench is really
right out front.
right out front, and
Yeah.
it's closest to the sidewalk and so forth. This is a much more inviting space, and I guess I struggle with the idea of quasi-public, which is the way that it was described. I did actually go back and listen to the
Right, right,
video, and it was described as quasi-public, and I like the ideas in that and the intent, but I think that it is perhaps difficult to enforce if it's not a little more clean cut. And I wonder what kind of precedent that sets in terms of future properties that might be going for some kind of a PUD, and thinking that their space could really be quasi-public, but that's code for, well, within a year, then, we privatize all of
Well,
this. And
here's what I was
I
thinking.
think that's a problem.
I think that from the developer's point of view, and one of the things I don't want to do is I don't want to scare off this development. I like this development, so I want to make sure.
As do I, and I
Yeah.
want to be on record
Yeah.
for that. I think this is terrific. I
So-
love
you,
this
Trustee
development.
Harley.
So my concern is, if you make something village property, he doesn't know what he's getting. He doesn't know how many people are going to show up there. He doesn't know whether there's going to be rugby games out there, right? So, and then the other thing is for him to make it part of the development where it's private, and I don't like that as the village. I think I like that. So I'm kind of thinking this kind of halfway, and no one's going to sue anybody for trespass, I don't think. And so I'm kind of thinking this halfway. Then if a problem develops, we can address it prospectively, but kind of leave it loose in that it will be there, that it's in the HOA, it's designated as open space. We treat it as open space. We don't advertise it in our brochure as a park. People can use it. If it becomes a problem, we talk about it. And I just think that satisfies his need and satisfies our need, and it's a kind of a non-decision, which is always my favorite kind of decision.
And I agree with you 100%. I appreciate where you guys are coming out on this. I think there's got to be some way to tie it up, because you're going to be done with this project, it's all going to be sold off, you're going to walk away, and if you get some resident in there that decides he or she wants to be head of the HOA, and it's just going to be, crazies, there's somebody that doesn't live in the property sitting out there, then it becomes an issue.
But then they come back to us, then we can address it then.
But we could also set some parameters now that would say, for example, no more than, and I'm just brainstorming here, no more than 3 non-residents are allowed to occupy it at one point.
So you get 4 people from Starbucks and the cops go pull one guy away because it's over 4? I mean,
Well, the way we leave it now, if one person goes and sits there,
Yeah.
then the cops go and
It's
pull them away.
trespassing because it's private.
Yeah, so
Well, but
our intent here is the right intent. We
Right.
need to figure out how to paper it.
right.
If I could, with the restricted sign notice that you were going to put into that order, you have to give notice on a quasi-village space to enforce a trespass. So I think with that other provision that you put in there, no restrictive signage, it doesn't rise
So
to
you
the
have to have
level-
notice to
Yeah.
trespass.
Yeah, and I'd wait till it's a problem.
Yeah, I'd wait till it's a problem.
I'd love to just quickly react. Let's remember that there is truly an easement, and there's a western portion of the site that is, we're calling quasi-public, but it's designed to be utilized by the public. It is your place to have your Starbucks. I think that there's an intent here to make a space available, not just for the residents, but also for the church and nearby neighbors. I imagine a welcome sign. Please enjoy this garden. This is a gift on behalf of the HOA. And I think if there is an abusive in a plaque, and it could be done, I think, elegantly. And then I love this idea of returning, should there be a change in its use, its function. Things often are designed and they aren't used as designed or intended. And I'm feeling that this feels a little squishy. And we have some concern about perhaps it's too squishy. I worry about us trying to really say, okay, this is a second truly public area here, when that wasn't really the original intent. So maybe we can put our heads together with staff to come up with a creative way to address this. I'd be willing to commit to introducing signage that we could review that would say, hey, welcome to this place of meditation and relaxation. And then if the HOA decides that look, it's getting abused, it's not being used how it was intended, I do think the idea of having them come back and make a presentation makes a lot of sense to me. And let's be careful about making a commitment to treat this eastern portion of the site as the western portion of the site is intended, which is truly for public consumption. That would be my suggestion.
Right. Agreed.
Okay.
Okay, so with that was the only open on my head. I think, if we can all remember this, my apologies for not having a great recollection on that, but I think we've all got the same intent here. Any other comments, questions from trustees? Okay, well, hearing none, this is long, but I'm going to make a motion to approve an ordinance amending Section 6-106, Special Uses in 11603, Plan Development of the Hinsdale Zoning Code to authorize plan developments for lifestyle housing in the O1 Specialty Office District. Approve an ordinance approving a plan development concept plan and a special use permits for a plan development and lifestyle housing at 125 South Vine Street, Holiday Property Services Midwest, Inc., and Zion Lutheran Church. And lastly, approve an ordinance approving a major adjustment to a plan development relative to removal of certain properties from an existing plan development and waivers related to the property remaining in same for Holiday Property Services Midwest, Inc. and Zion Lutheran Church.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Trustee Postuma?
Aye.
Trustee Harlow?
Aye.
Trustee Stifler?
Aye.
Trustee Fisher?
Aye.
Trustee Burns?
Aye.
Trustee Banky?
Aye.
Okay, so you're most of the way through the gauntlet. You got a couple more meetings, but don't give up. We all like the project. We like when you take an existing building in town and refurbish it, and you've been very cooperative. We really appreciate it. Hang in there, we'll get this done.
We will. Thank you, President Colley, and we look forward to coming back with our detailed plans in a couple months. And I'd like to thank Bethany for all of her efforts to keep us on the rails here. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Which moves us to agenda item 8C. And this is on the agenda as a second read due to the timing of the application, which has been submitted by Falcon Football for a temporary use permit to operate a food truck near Dickinson Field at Hinsdale Central from August 27th through November 6th on Saturdays and Sundays, where Falcon Football Organization is hosting home games. The food truck, which has not yet been identified, will provide concessions to spectators and will be parked at the south end of the football field and west of the current concession stand, or which they commonly refer to as the Huddle House, which will be in a gated area, so it'll be away from public parking and away from any vehicular traffic. Once the food truck operator is identified, it will be required to provide to the village proof of license from DuPage County and details of any electric or water hookups, but my expectations, these food trucks are self-sufficient. They operate on generators and their own plumbing. There probably will not be any hookups. Additionally, the food truck will be required to pay all taxes to the village, which in the past with food trucks, I know that the staff has worked out on a more convenient basis. I would note that temporary uses are outlined in our village code under section 9-103, which may be approved by the village manager. However, food trucks are not identified as a temporary use, and where uses are not specifically identified, the authority moves to this board, so long as the use is consistent with the zoning district and is truly temporary, which this will be. This is a temporary use which is permitted by, I said, section 9-103. I would also note that the village does not permit food trucks or does permit food trucks at certain village events, such as the farmers markets on Monday morning, uniquely Thursdays. We've also approved a food truck for Snow Cone, I believe it was last summer, for temporary use at the fruit store parking lot. We do have a representative here from Falcon Football. If you could just give us a quick understanding if I've missed anything here, and also why Falcon Football is not using the concession stand, and have you had any communication with Hinsdale or D86 regarding the matter?
Yes. Hi, I'm Kay Sharpless. Thank you so much for considering this. Your first question was why we're not using the Huddle House?
Yep.
I have that information in my phone, but it's an insurance issue with the Boosters Club.
Okay.
And so we have access to the Huddle House exterior, but we can't use the interior.
Okay.
Which makes it interesting to have a concession stand.
But they're not opposed to having a food truck come on. So-
They're not opposed in any way. So,
Okay, so why is this a second read?
Because they need to start, I believe, the first week in September,
Okay.
and we will not meet again until then.
Okay, okay.
our first games are the weekend of August 27th, 28th,
Okay.
what that is. And we have 8 weeks of games.
Okay, so who owns the Huddle House? Does the village own that?
I think it's
Is it at the district?
The district?
It's not school property.
It
Either
might
the
be the
district or the
boosters.
Oh, the boosters,
Might be
okay,
the
okay.
boosters.
And so you have access to the outside, but not the inside? What does that
Yes.
even mean?
Yeah, what is,
Does that
thank
mean-
you.
That is a really good question.
Okay.
I've been involved with Falcon football now for almost 3 years. Obviously, we had the lockdown, so we didn't get to play in 2020. We played in 2019.
Right.
We didn't have a concession stand then, and we didn't have a concession stand last year. I'm not looking for anything spectacular. I just want to be able to, we have 5,000 kids playing BGYFL
Yep.
football. Aunts, uncles, grandmas, grandpas,
Right.
lots of family come. I want them to be able to buy a bottle of water.
Yep, yep, understood. Yeah, I don't see any reason not to do it. I was just a little confused as to why you didn't have access to the inside.
It sounds like insurance.
It's an insurance issue and a licensing issue from boosters,
Okay,
the school,
okay. So no one is, to your knowledge, opposed this?
not in any way.
Okay.
Everybody's very supportive of it.
Okay.
Did staff have any type of communication with boosters or D86 on this?
District 86 did send us an email saying that they were okay with it.
Okay. All right.
So from my standpoint, I have no issues with this at all. I think it's easy. The only thing I would, for anybody that's watching, is I'm supportive of food trucks so long as they don't compete with our local restaurants that pay real estate taxes here on a daily basis. It's not the case here.
Yep, yep.
So.
Do you want to make a motion?
Yep. So with that, I am going to make a motion to approve A temporary use permit to allow for a food truck for Hinsdale Falcon football near Dickinson Field at Hinsdale Central High School located at 5500 South Grant Street from August 27, 2022 to November 6, 2022, subject to conditions set forth by the building commissioner.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Trustee Postuma?
Aye.
Trustee Harlow?
Aye.
Trustee Stifler?
Aye.
Trustee Fisher?
Aye.
Trustee Burns?
Aye.
Trustee Banky?
Thank you, good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, tollway, anything, Brad's not here, nothing for the tollway. Request for a liquor license from Tony's. You here for Tony's? I am. Yep. Come on up and explain yourself.
Thank you so much. So we started selling bottles of wine last year. We were approved for a liquor license. Obviously, as many restaurants in town were during the pandemic, we were looking for any and all opportunities to boost our revenue and keep our doors open. The village was very accommodating. It's been a really nice addition to what we offer there. Obviously, being a French-themed restaurant, we sell mostly French wine. We average about $175 to $200 per week in sales of bottled wine. We've gotten a lot of feedback from our customers who come in and dine with us at the restaurant, asking whether or not they'd be able to purchase a bottle of wine, enjoy it with their food. We are simply responding to that request from our customers. We feel like it's a great way to continue to grow our business. 28 years we've been here in town, and through that time, we feel like, we've really been responsive to what the community has asked for from us. We feel this is a way to continue to grow our business, and so we're asking for that opportunity to be able to amend our license.
Okay. Any thoughts, any objections?
Would it be limited to beer and wine? Is that the?
Beer and wine, correct. So our current license is just for beer and wine sales. We have no plans to sell our alcohol.
Okay. No issue.
All right, approved.
Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Have a
you.
good evening.
Okay, staff reports. Okay, citizens petition, no one. Trustee comments? None. Motion to adjourn, no reason for closed session, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Trustee Postuma?
Aye.
Trustee Harlow?
Aye.
Trustee Stifler?
Aye.
Trustee Fisher?
Aye.
Trustee Burns?
Aye.
Trustee Banky?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.